We're back at round 10 of the Mountain State Hare Scramble at Larenim Park in Burlington, West Virginia. If that's how you say it. It's another hot day here on Saturday. That's right. More about that later. Oh, did you race? How'd you do?
I came 13th in my class and I think 58th overall.
Oh, yeah. You had fun though, right?
Yeah, that's a good part. All right, well, good luck.
All right, thanks, bud.
Hey, go win.
That's your advice.
That's your advice. Go win.
Nice to meet you.
All right, bye.
Good luck. Okay.
Hey, good luck.
All right, thanks.
Good luck, man. Hey, good luck. Thanks, man.
That's right, we're here on Saturday, and you may say, what? Mountain State Hare Scramble doesn't race on Saturday? Well, they do now. They're doing a 2-day race weekend. Bikes are on Saturday, and four-wheelers on Sunday.
I like it. I like it myself.
I've got Darius Lati on my right. I got Christian, my good friend, on my left. We are in the 40AB class. We are the fourth row to take off today. The pros just took off. And as I was saying, it is another hot day here in West Virginia. I didn't get here in time to look at the property. I've never raced here before, so this ought to be interesting. I do recommend if you get to the track late, at least look at the start. In the course description, he warned us about the start, but I always try to get to the track, especially when I run this 4-stroke. It is a slow starter, and I always expect to start last. And when you start last, you need to look at as much of the first part of the track as possible to look for passing areas. If you'd have watched my last race, I ran the 2-stroke. Got the whole shot with that. And now it's time to hit the track. And as I expected, just about last off the line. I did get to look at this section. Not really a lot of options to make passes. The one I did find was right there on the inside of Christian. I did notice when the youth was racing that this field section was very dusty. So I'm into the woods about third, not too bad for the 430. Beta 430 is a slow starter. It turns over so slow. And now I'm in the woods and surprised already how dusty this track is. I have never been able to race this race. I've heard from many different people that this was one of their favorite tracks. Now I have raced a property about 3 or 4 miles from here at Dave Redmond's property, and right now I can see it's pretty much the same type of property. Wide open, not wide open, obviously there's trees, but not a lot of scrub brush, lots of traction. Now Darius Lati is in front of me. We battled back and forth a few times, and right now I'm just following him because I have absolutely no idea where to go. We were on the youth track for a very short period of time. Now, come on, Hawkins, get it together. Darius is getting away, but now we're out here where nobody has ran yet this weekend. There's a lot of trails throughout this property, and Richie has us running some old trails. Now this hill climb will become a problem later in the race. It becomes really slick as far as shell rock. It's almost like gravel. But he'll run us on a track for a little while, and then he'll run us off to get some fresh track and then back onto some existing track. But as you can see, the track is pretty wide open. And what I mean by that is you could go just about anywhere you want, but the track is only in a certain area. And if you get out too far where you don't see these little red arrows, as Darius Lati is obviously lost, which following is not a bad thing other than it's a little dusty. If he's keeping up pace, and he's doing pretty good right now. I go over here thinking that, okay, I gotta break away, but unfortunately I guessed wrong. I had a 50-50 chance that the track was going to go left or right. I went left and the track went right, so that didn't work out. But you gotta try something. As I always say, you can't pass somebody if you follow them. But basically what we're doing is going from red arrow to red arrow to red arrow on this first lap. And that's another thing, as you just seen, there's several logs that was left in the track and they weren't square with the trail. So those things can take you down quicker than, well, let's see what's quick. Quicker, I don't know, fast. It will take you down fast. So not only on this track do we have to worry about what's on the track as of logs, brush, roots, but we also got to make sure we stay on the track. And the camera never shows you exactly how steep something is. Like, this is a pretty good downhill, and then up to this point we were on a pretty good off camber section of the track. Now we're starting to go back towards the top of the property, and now once you're up here on the flat you have a little more options of getting off the beaten track and trying to make passes. When you're on an off camber, it's a little hard to get off the main trail because usually it has a berm or something for you to use for traction. Now the way I'm going to do this this video, I normally do a full first lap, but not a lot goes on this first lap. Right now I'm showing you some video just to give you an idea what the track looked like before it got ridden in pretty good. So basically what I'm going to do is give you some highlights of a first and second lap. Most of the action for me on this day was on the third lap. I got in a battle with somebody not in my class, but throughout a race you gotta try to grab on somebody to either make a pass on or try to keep up with or keep them behind you. You gotta play mind games with yourself in order to stay fast, because this first lap, yeah, I caught a few people that were in front of me, but for the most part I was just trying to be cautious and not get lost out here in this wide open woods, not make a mistake, because I knew on the second lap, once everybody made their first lap on that, the track will be more well defined and I can pick up my pace and feel comfortable with it. As I was saying, I'd never been on this property before, never raced it, so I had absolutely no idea how it flowed. I'm not in it for points. I'm just here to have fun and to get you guys video. So my main goal for the day is to do as good as I can, as safe as I can. Now right here, I think there was just one log across the track right there. That was a little dangerous because when you hit that, it takes your front wheel out and slams you right into a tree. Now this log, after I look at it, I made 6 laps out here, and not one time did it come to my brain, why don't you just go over the log? That was bad on my part. Now Richie did bring us down through the bottom here. This is a pretty cool section. The first time down was a little confusing. I'm following arrows, but I'm also looking for the fastest way through this little gully. I'm like, should I go over there? No, let's go over here. And once it got beat in, it was obviously, you know, the obvious route became extinguished. Oh, that sounds fancy. That's a fancy word for me. But more defined, and it wasn't no big deal. Like this hill climb right here, it was pretty steep, but on the camera, it doesn't look steep at all. So we go up and right back down and back into, I'm pretty sure it's the same gully. And I'm coming down through here, feeling pretty good, trying to figure out where the track is. I hear somebody behind me. I've already pulled over and let one of the guys from behind me get around. And I drop down in here, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa! Never even knew that line was there. And besides, it just hurt my shoulder watching him jump down off of there, because any sudden jerks like that, it just kills my shoulder. But today, I'm feeling pretty good, and as you notice, I'm on my 2020 Beta 430 RR race edition with completely stock forks, and it's feeling pretty good. Now here in the grass, I say, well, what I did is I stalled it. But I said, before that, I said, I see logs in the grass and I'm not going fast. And then I stalled it. And yeah, I'm definitely not going fast. There for a second, I was going backwards. But yeah, that's one thing you want to watch out in the grass, especially the first lap. There could be logs underneath there and you're not even see it. That was a fun uphill right there. You have spectators, so you obviously got to twist it a little harder to make you look fast. Thanks, Wild Man, for rooting me on there. So yeah, this is just about all of the first lap. I'll show you coming through the finish. The second lap, there's a few little highlight areas, but I'll get you pretty much a full third lap. It's a pretty cool little uphill. Love riding this 4-stroke. There's so much more fun riding wheelies than a 2-stroke for some reason. So we're coming back down into the pit area. You gotta look fast in the pit area at least. And that pretty much wraps up my first lap. The only thing I have done on this beta as far as suspension, if you watch my other videos, as you can see, I was first there. There's Heidi rooting me on. Was I put the extended bladder in the rear shock. Made a big difference in both my bikes. Highly recommend that. And now this, we're taking off where we at the beginning of the second lap, and this you've already seen. So we basically started up in the field, dropped down right onto the track, and this was where it was really dusty coming into this bridge. Pretty fun little hill here. I go wide left here, but I learned each time you do a lap, you find a section that may not work too good for you, make sure your eyes are looking for other options for your next lap. You may not be able to get it that lap. Coming up that last uphill, I seen an option to the right. I'm like, okay, I gotta remember that for the next time. And now you can see that the trail is much more defined. I'm not actually probably even looking at arrows anymore. Hopefully the track is where I'm supposed to go. The first lap, all I was doing is going from arrow to arrow, and every once in a while I lost an arrow and I had to slow down, turn around and look for the next where I was supposed to go. And now I'm not even looking at arrows, I'm just looking at the track and trying to pick the best line, trying to find my little hot lines here and there. And on this track, it would have been so helpful to come out and walk or e-bike this track. Mr. Pingley, Mr. and Mrs. Pingley. So many hot lines I missed. I watched this video before I edited it, and I'm like, there's a hot line. There's a hot line. There's an obvious hot line all over the place. But
110. Thank you.
throughout the day, as Heidi hands me off some much needed fluids, throughout the day I started finding more hot lines here and there, and then there were so many to the point where I'd find an awesome one and then I'd forget about it the next lap. So now we're off onto our third lap. And yes, you heard right, that was a horn. This bike does have a horn. Actually, this is my dual sport. It's my race bike, and all I gotta do is add a headlight on it that goes on pretty easy, throw a mirror on it, throw my license plate on it, and now it's my dual sport. So I use it for both. This is that line that I was talking about on lap 2. Much better line, gave you a straight option on this hill. You didn't have to go left. I would have had a hot line there, but I probably would have took out a couple kids or young men. There's a log right here. Oh no, I didn't show it. The reason why I cut some of this third lap out, because you've already seen it when I was following Darius Lati on the first lap, which I'm first, and spoiler alert, I stay here the rest of the day. This is that difficult uphill. I never had no problems on it, but it was slick, and I've seen many bikes laying on the side of it. But Darius got second, and my good friend Christian got third. So proud of that guy. He actually broke his neck at this race last year. I mean, literally broke it to where he had to get rods put in his neck. He was paralyzed, much like my good friend Bob Martin. Bob didn't break his neck. He basically bruised his spinal cord, but they had pretty much the exact same symptoms. They were paralyzed for a few days, and after much hard work as far as physical therapy, and I can't imagine what they've been through, but to see Christian back out here is one bit scary, but so impressed that he can get over his physical and also mental state to get out here and do what he loves to do. So good, so proud of you, Christian, to be back out here. But Darius Lati ran second, and I seen in the results he had a pretty good race going on, but he had one really bad lap. I don't know if he broke something, got stuck, but he ended up third, and he ended up second, and Christian got third. It's good riding with good friends and good sports. That's one good thing about this sport is, some of my best friends off the track are my biggest competition on the track. And that's the way it should be, because as Rob and myself just actually was texting back and forth, you know, we're getting to the point to where our bodies are getting banged up, reconsidering whether it's really worth the risk anymore. I don't like being out here unless I'm competitive. But in order to be competitive with these fast guys, you gotta really chance it. So I'm catching another rider that I did not expect to catch. This is Wayne Skidmore. He ran the class ahead of me. I think he runs the Open AB class. Talked to him on Messenger, and I guess he was riding a skateboard or something and fell and jacked his wrist up and wasn't feeling the best. But we're going to see a good bit of him today. It's always cool catching people that you used to be able to hang out with on a track. Ever since I broke my collarbone, I have not been able, A, practice the way I used to practice, B, feel like I can go as fast as I used to because I'm still sore. And see, it's A, B, what's next? That would be C. Worry about getting hurt again before I got healed from the last one. So this was probably about the best I've felt so far since I broke my collarbone last year. If you watched any of my videos, racing videos, you've heard me whine about my shoulder pains. I still have them, but ooh, there's that log again. And here's the other log that I don't understand why me or anybody else didn't just hop down over that thing. I can see now where somebody's been down over it, but all day that log was a pain in the butt to go around, because if you came in too hot, you ended up down over in the ravine. Why did I not just hop over it? It's easy to be a recliner jockey. Is that what they call that? A couch jockey, couch racer. I can sit here and watch this video and spot hotlines all over the place, but until you're in the heat of the moment, for some odd reason they don't make sense. Whether they're more off camber than they look, or the momentum didn't carry you that way. Mr. Skidmore is looking like he's rolling along pretty good. We raced together at the SXCS race over in Western Maryland about a month or so back. We were back and forth. My bike stalled, he got around me, then he went down. I think he said he knocked himself a little cuckoo. I got back around him, and then I thought I had a flat tire, and I pulled off the track, and I didn't have a flat tire. This is where that guy dropped down in the creek. I guess they didn't want nobody to do that anymore for safety reasons, and I'll make a dumb decision here. I thought I could squeeze between those two trees. I hit my bark buster, jacks me around. I get back on the back of the bike, but you can't see. My front end wanted to keep popping up. Stalled the bike. Didn't lose too much time, but I was just thinking, man, if I had my old RMZ 450 and I would have had to kickstart that thing, I probably would have had to turn around, go back down to the creek, kick that thing, get it fired, get even, and then hit the hill again. So, yeah, call me lazy, call me old, but I like my push button. So this is my third lap, and I'm really starting to dig this track. I'm starting to figure it out. I'm seeing options here and there that just, it's fun being able to spot out a hotline last minute and it work out to your benefit. I mean, obviously I've hit hotlines before and they didn't work out in my benefit, but just being able to come through an open woods like this and say, like, how about this, how about over here, how about down through there, especially when you got people you're trying to get around. An open track like this is a lot of fun. Feeling pretty good at this point. I caught Wayne and then I lost him, and I'm trying to catch back up with him. And that's what you got to do in order to keep yourself motivated. As you can see, not a lot of things going on, especially this lap. I'm catching some lappers, but up to this point there really was no motivation to, like, nobody in my class in front of me, nobody behind me pushing me. And so Wayne right now is my carrot. I'm like, okay, I caught him once, can I catch him again? Let's twist this throttle. Yeah, I'm getting tired, my back's starting to hurt, bike's starting to feel a little rough, the track's getting choppy. All right, let's twist it. Let's just do the best we can and use that for motivation, whether it's to try to better your overall. I've not done too good in the overall. I think maybe my 4th or 5th Mountain State Hare Scramble. Have not been impressed with my riding up to this point. I think I've ran the 300 every time so far. The 300 Beta RR has been my bike of choice so far this year. I use it more on the local because they're usually tighter, especially if it's muddy. If it's a muddy, tight track, like the last GNCC was the Mountaineer, I ran it and actually was leading the first half of the race. And that's the first time I led a GNCC since I broke my collarbone, and it felt pretty good. I'm starting to get these bikes figured out on the suspension side. The big holdback was the rear shock. If you don't trust your bike, like coming down through a trail like this and hitting a log or a braking bump, and you're not confident in how that bike's going to react, you're never going to be able to go at your full potential. But I'm finally getting these bikes figured out. The Beta 430 has KYB forks. They're completely stock. This winter I'm going to have something done to them. But it feels really good right out of the box. The only thing is, I waited way too long to get that rear bladder put in the rear shock. If I understood what that actually did, I would have done it before I even rode the bike. Made a world of difference. Even though on probably around lap 4.5, 5, the bike started bucking me pretty bad on some of the downhill braking bumps and some of the logs. That's probably going to be me needing to stiffen it up at the beginning of the race, because when the fluid was cold, it felt great. But as it got hot, the fluid in the forks and the shock gets warm, hot, actually they get very hot, get thin, and the valving don't work as well. I think I'm going to have to start the race a little stiffer and then let it get softer as the temperature of the fluid. That's my next thing. Leave a comment if it makes any sense, but for the most part, it felt great. until it got really choppy and it got really hot, and then it started kicking me around a little bit. But I talked to Austin, and he was having the same problem. So I don't think it was just me. But definitely getting the feel for these bikes a little better. I'm getting in better shape. Now you'll see on this track there was a lot of logs.
Thank you.
That was a good way to have somebody let them know where you want them to pass you. That was good. You point in the direction you want them to go. But the best thing to do on these logs is try to get as square with them as possible. So if it's angled at a certain angle, go wide on the trail and try to go straight across it, as straight as possible. And another thing you want to do is you want to make that front end as light as possible. And the best way of doing that is when you see the log, you got to gas it. It's the last thing you want to do. You want to slam on your brakes. But you want to get that front end up in the air. It's okay if it barely touches it or don't touch it at all. But just as soon as that front wheel gets over that log, you want to let off of the gas. You don't want the rear tire spinning under power while it's going over the log. You want it to drift over, I guess you would say drift, or go over the log without any power. So gas it, get the front end up, and just as soon as your front wheel clears the log, let off the gas and let it ride over the log. That's the best way to get over the log without it kicking you or messing you up. That's definitely a tricky balance. Best thing to do is put some different size logs out on your trail. Like that log right there was square with the trail. Those aren't too bad unless they're pretty big and then they want to kick you. But when you come around like that one log, the one log I had the most problem with, that one you just want to slow down and get as square as possible. Because if it was on such an angle, and if you did hit it and it jacked you up, it's going to throw you right into a tree. And slower is better on that, especially on an off-camera side of the hill. Well, the way it ended up for me, I had a pretty good day. I did end up 14th overall, first in my class, and I had an absolutely blast here at the Mountain State Hare Scramble. First lap was a little sketchy for me, mostly just because I don't like going that fast on a trail that's not cleared off, but that's just me. And I also had a blast in the pits. Had so many people come up asking for pictures, and we gave out a lot of stickers. A lot of youth riders coming up saying that they like watching our videos. Had a few parents come up and say, you know, they watch it together in order to show them, you know, how to pick lines. So this time I threw a little extra, maybe talked a little too much, but try to just give it little pointers here and there. I am an old man. I've raced many laps. I'm not saying I'm all that fast, but I do have ideas on how to try to stay off the ground. If you hear me complain about aches and pains, you would think that I wreck all the time, which usually I am on the ground at least once or twice. But knock on wood, the last few races I've not been on the ground. So either I'm slowing down or not taking as many unnecessary risks, but I'm sure I'll hit the ground again. That's part of the sport, unfortunately. But absolutely enjoy talking to the other riders, especially the youth riders. One rider came over and said, hey, he wants a picture with you. He's afraid to ask, and I absolutely do not mind at all. Anytime you see me, if you need a wrench or you need something to pump your tire up, no matter what you need, if you need help on your bike, whatever it is, let me know, and I have no problem helping you all out. If there's any advice you need, stop by and say, hey, I 100% appreciate it. That's what keeps me sitting in this stupid recliner and doing these videos, is the fact that I'm actually doing something beneficial to help other riders, or if not beneficial, at least somewhat entertaining. I know before I came out to this race, I wanted to look up some video to get an idea what the property is like, and not one video did I find on this property other than just a couple little short clips of the start. And I think there was a youth rider on it. But just being able to go to YouTube, type in Mountain State Hare Scramble, Burlington race, and being able to come out here and look at the track conditions. Many of you raced this day. It was 160 riders. So that's 160 racers on the bikes that can say, hey, this is where I hit that tree. This is where I passed so and so. Look, he passed me here at mile marker 2, whatever. But that's pretty cool. I use it a lot myself. So I'm starting to catch back up with Wayne finally. See, how long has that been? Almost a full lap it took me to catch back up with him. But I do catch him, I get back around him, and basically I stall the bike for some weird reason. It wouldn't start, didn't understand what was going on, had to get neutral, fired her back up, got going, and my clutch was going almost clear back to the handlebar. So this is that difficult hill climb. He gets jacked up over there trying to get around a rider. I think I do finally get around him, but he gets back around me. The last half lap, or pretty much the last lap, I wasn't able to use my clutch, and here was a down rider. I was looking at him and I was thinking he was just overheated because it was pretty hot, and I saw these other spectators over here and I said, hey,
Hey guys, see if that guy's okay right there?
make sure he was okay. I didn't know if he was having a heat stroke or what, but so I try to get away from Wayne, show off a little bit, and then I come down here and I hit a tree, which ran me into another tree. Pretty much the only incident right there and there. Jacked my handlebar, park buster up a little bit, and my front brake was a little jacked up. But 100% appreciate everybody watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Come over and say hi if you see us. And make sure you check out our other videos. We've been to GNCC, US Sprint Enduro, SXCS, Mountain State Hare Scramble, New East Coast, riding 4-wheelers, dirt bikes. Been to a few ride parks. We've been down to the Hatfield McCoy trails this year, but make sure you check us out. Thank you all so much for watching, and give us a big thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe. If you're on a mobile device, you can click this red subscriber button at the bottom right hand corner of your screen. You can click the logo here in the middle in order to subscribe or watch another video. Thanks for watching.